Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, Odyssey, Telegram, and Twitch. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim, and today is July 2nd, 2022, and this is episode 135 of the Workshop Podcast. It's going to be another good one tonight, and just give me one sec here. We will get this other live stream up and running, see if we can do it without making, there we are. Okay, so we'll bring Nate on in a minute. Rachel said she's going to be on. We are doing the book club discussion. Always love doing that. But real quick, we'll get the maintenance stuff out of the way. I got asked a few times recently how to support the workshop, so I made a quick list of 5 ways. Number one, you can listen to the Workshop Podcast on the Fountain Podcast app. If you haven't checked that out yet, it's great. Every time you listen, you can make Bitcoin, and I can make Bitcoin as well. Number two, whenever we're doing live streams, anything like that, like you saw the other night, Super Chat and Super Stickers are there. Only if you feel like the content is great, but anytime you want to, go right ahead. If you're going to shop at Amazon, you can go to toolmantim.shop. Start your links from there, and then that'll help support the workshop as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch your content here on YouTube because the ads help support what we create. And finally, especially if you're Canadian and you like coffee, go to the CanadianCoffeeCompany.ca, and that is the place to go. Today's tool is a great little item. It is the Nature's Miracle Pooper Scooper. That thing is $23 on Amazon. And it is all you need to start your own little dog pooper picker-upper service. It's worked great for me. The thing is built like a brick shithouse. It's built like a tank, and it just holds up really well. The link's in the description on all the platforms. And let's slide over here. Give me 1 second. Hey, we got Chris Dixon in the comments. We got Hunter here as well. And let's bring Nate on. Almost hit remove. There we go. I almost kicked you by mistake. So right at the moment we're here. There we are. And Rachel said she's coming on in just a minute. So how are you, Nate?
Awesome. Doing pretty good.
Good.
A little bit of a mini vacation, so the background's a little different.
Yeah, you guys are celebrating Canada Day down there, are you?
Yeah, not quite. we're celebrating the day we kicked your brothers out of this country.
That's right. Yes, and rightfully so, you know. So, well, that's good. You guys away and enjoying a little bit of time or what?
Yeah, we'll be out here for tonight, and then we're going to head back tomorrow.
Nice. Right on. Yeah, no, this is good. It's like a little Fireside Freedom reunion. So we'll have a little bit of fun with this. But yeah. Okay. So have you read we were talking before, and I think I know the answer, but you haven't read book 11 yet?
Not yet. I'm waiting on that one to come out of my audio streaming service, and then I'll give it a listen. So I know it's on Audible. Just got to get a credit and do that. So
yep. No, it's good. I won't say any more than that. I enjoyed it so far. And apparently book 12 comes out in written form or, ebook or whatever pretty soon too. Have you seen that or?
No.
Yeah. I think I heard it was July, but I might be wrong about that. So that would be
quick.
Yeah, I know. But I was, when I was putting the show notes together, I was looking at the different books, and he must be like, he's a trooper because they were coming just about constantly. It was like every year or 2 books a year he was putting out in the past. So yeah, he's probably, I don't know, he either got it done up ahead of time or just kind of busting through. But
yeah, I mean, you figure, well, if I remember, the books kind of get a little bit shorter from this point on.
I think so. Yeah. Because the first one, I think if I remember what Chris said when he was on the show, I think he said the first 2 were written in that, like, I want to say Facebook wasn't, but that forum, where they, so they tended to be a little longer. And then, I think you're right. I think the rest of them were all just kind of that, I think of them in hours, but I think just a little under 10 hours. Oh, Rachel says we're not on Telegram. I wonder what happened. Oh,
I would say they're like 9.5 once you get a little bit further into it.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah. I'm just going to share. Oh, look, Chris Dixon just sent a super chat. Just because I said it didn't mean you have to do it, but thank you, sir. What a bastard. Let's give Rachel, I think she wants to get on with us, and I'm just going to share the invite link once again here. If I can remember how to do that from while we're in here. There we go. There. We're always live, never quite sure what's on the go, right? So
That's all right.
there we go. There you go. Rachel, if you can hear me. Oh, I will. There we go. Oh, Yozik. Yeah, Yozik wanted to come in tonight too, but he looks like he's at almost looks like waterfalls or something he sent. So, and if Rachel, you can hear us. I just put the invite link in the description here or in the comments. And yes, I'm live streaming it on the book club Telegram group tonight. So that really screws them up. So.
You gotta mess with everybody's mind.
Absolutely. I'm just going to share this over in the other group for her too, and then we'll get started. So how's the weather been for you so far, Nate?
Pretty good. It's 80 right now. Sun's going down, getting behind the trees. So we're just kind of waiting for the bugs to go away, and then we can go outside for a little bit.
What time of night? Oh, it's about 8 o'clock there now, is it?
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock right now, and I am currently 100 feet from the Mississippi River. So
that blows me away how far that thing kind of winds. Does it end in the Gulf of Mexico, or does it? Yeah,
yep, down in the Gulf.
And does it
actually starts up in Minnesota, up by Amy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And does it feed into the Great Lakes?
No, it's another lake that's up there.
Okay.
I can never remember the name of it. I have the diagram in the house here, the house that we're or the in-laws that I'm visiting. They have the whole sheet that tells you where it starts, all the riverways that dump into it. You know, the distance from where it goes, where it ends, the height, the whole 9 yards.
It's pretty incredible. There she is. There's Rachel. I knew we'd. Hey, how are you?
Hey, guys.
How's it going?
We managed to kill enough time before we got you on here, so that's good.
Very hot. It's really hot out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive in then, guys. Oh, I'm going to ask you, Rachel. No, I know the answer to this one, but you haven't read book 11 yet, have you, Rachel? Because you're just at the beginning of the series. Oh, sound like a train going by.
Yeah, it's me. Hold on.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. It ain't bothering me.
There's all kinds of feedback, and I'm hearing the same thing like 3 times over.
Oh, that's it. You're not feedbacking on our end. You getting any feedback, Nate? No. Oh, poor Rachel. Still there?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
We're good. So you're just okay. Let's recap for anybody who's listening. We started.
I think it's me.
Okay, no worries. We're good. Yeah, and Hunter says sounds good on his end on Twitch as well. So yeah, we're not. It's only on your end if it's coming through. Yeah, Haas says good. Hey, Haas, how are you? We'll shout out to everybody. Oh, and there she. Poor Rachel. I love it. What do they say? Anything can happen on live TV. Well, Nate, So for everybody who follows this, we are working our way through the Going Home book series, one book at a time. So up until about a couple of months ago, we thought this was going to be a 10-book series and done. And then we discovered, hey, here comes book 11 and book 12. And God damn it sounds like he's going to go about 20 books, eh?
Yeah, that's what I heard. He's doing about 20 of them total. So
I don't know I guess we'll just keep going until we catch up to him. And the way he writes, maybe we won't have a chance. I don't know, but
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So, and I just restarted reading 299 Days as well. I'm not really sure why, but that's my second favorite series. It gets a little more religious and a little more, I don't know, but it's not bad. There's more lead up to the event in 299 Days than there is in this. So I thought that was kind of an interesting. You've read that, haven't you?
I've gotten through book 4.
Okay.
So, I stopped. Couldn't find book 5 on the service I wanted.
Okay.
And then started doing the Going Home.
Okay. Yeah, and didn't look back. So
yeah.
How are you doing now, Rachel? You good?
Well, I figured out that I forgot to close my Telegram.
Oh, yep. Oh, we can hear
now
her.
Now everything just echoed back again. So
okay. Oh, poor Rachel. It's not echoing on our side. When you talk, we're not getting any echo.
No, it's good here.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep talking, and you can, just play with it, Rachel, see what happens. But you're crystal clear video and audio on our end. And Hunter said he finished 299 days, and it was just all right. And it wasn't bad. It, like I said, it's okay, but it's another level below 299 or below going home, I would say.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a softer series from what I was reading. It doesn't jump right into the problems.
It was cool. It's kind of neat. I know this isn't going to be a 299 day show, but it was just neat because he's talking about the survival podcast, and he's like, this was written way back, and Jack has like 100. I don't know what he said, 175 listeners or something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty. Then doing his Jetta thing, and I was like, all right.
I mean, they both started writing these books 2008, 2009.
They must have both come out of the whole. Well, there was a huge push into the prepper space in 2008, right?
Yeah, it was all the Obama years. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was good gun salesman, right? So
Yep.
And Hunter said he just finished World Made by Hand. Have you read that yet, Nate?
Nope, not yet.
Man, I wish. Oh, Rachel says, no problem, Rachel. It's going to be me and you flying, not solo, but together. Rachel can comment from here, and we're all set. So
that works.
But if you haven't, I wish I could send you. I guess we don't. Yeah, anyway, I can't send you my books from Audible, but man, World Made by Hand is just, it's awesome. Yeah, it's another good
I'll go
one.
find it. I'll see if I can get it up.
You get lots of headphone time, don't you?
Yeah, I'm 9-10 hours a day, so I can usually knock out one of the going home books, one of the future ones in like a day and a half, give or take.
I enjoy it. I don't know. I get lost in a book. It helps make the day go, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when I'm busy. I'm going to put that note in here.
Sure.
That is World by Hand.
Yeah. Hunter said, you know what, Will, where is it here? Let's just start his comment. Chris loved it too. It's been, so I have to give credit where credit was due. Carrie Brown recommended that to me. And I looked about trying to get the author on the show, and he looks like it could be a bit of a difficult interview. So I kind of stayed away, but his writing's great. I was like, whatever, But and Hunter said it was a smooth read. What's that?
Did you watch that video I sent you?
I didn't. I fell asleep. But I'm gonna, I promise, because it's about the Carrington event, right?
Yeah, that dude's a little strange.
That's okay. The Carrington event, there's the guy that you ever read 1 Second After?
Yeah.
So he also wrote a book. How you doing, Rachel? You okay?
I figured I'd give it one last try. I tried the link through your regular chat instead of the one that you put here in YouTube. So
okay, you're crystal clear, like even better now.
Yeah, actually, I'm not having any delays. I'm not having any echo. So
excellent.
Maybe that was the problem.
Let's see if we can make this. Let's see how this looks. I don't know. What do you think?
Go.
Yeah, I don't know. What do we got?
Yeah,
that'll. You know what?
Sure. Always got the guys on top.
Yeah, just the way it is,
Sorry.
Let's move that there. That's good. There we go. Cool. I like that. We're not so cramped in on the space there. So anyway. Well, okay. From here on out, spoilers are totally fine, of course, for book 2. So we won't spoil anything beyond that. But for anybody who's listening, if you haven't read book 2 yet, what the hell are you still doing listening? So
yeah, because this one's gonna get dark.
Oh, yes. Oh, I know. I love the darkness. Anyway, All right. So go ahead. We'll start with Nate. What do you love about it? What did you think of book 2?
2 was, one was getting home, and 2 was a curveball. Like, I didn't see half the stuff coming. And that's just goes to show how good of a writer he is, because you're going through this book and you think everything's hunky-dory, and then 30 seconds later, you're listening to the book and he's feeding some dude to the hogs.
Amen. Wow, was it? Yeah. And if anybody in the comments wants to throw it in, go ahead, because I know pretty much everybody here has read it. And it was, there we go. Oh, cool. There's Rachel. How are you?
Sorry, I'm an amateur.
No, listen, this is why we do it. I don't care. Yeah, anyway. So, what did you think, Rachel, of book 2 so far? Well, you've read it, but.
Yeah, I figured out with book 2 that I am definitely stuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Oh, go ahead.
you just get so much into the characters and the way that they're being developed. It's just it became one of those where you gotta, especially the way they ended it, you can't wait till the next book.
Ain't that the truth? Yes. So Chris says, what's the timeline on book 2? I never picked up on that. 3 and 4 months after the event.
Summertime, I think.
Yeah. So there wasn't much of a jump, though, was there, in time from 1 and 2?
No. I mean, it might have been 2 or 3 months after, or 2 to 6 months after he got home.
Right.
That might have been like the window. They were talking about stuff growing in the summertime, spring and summer.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yes, I should have. Yeah. Because it's funny when they're telling stories from Florida. It's like, their idea of winter, and you're like, come on, give me a friggin' break, right?
Yeah. Their idea of winter is like a shortened t-shirt during the day.
Yeah. Well, we better put a piece of wood on the fireplace just in case.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Where do we want to start with book 2? Let's get the elephant out of the room. Let's talk about Thad's character arc in this. Let's get it right out of the way. So,
holy cow.
Yeah. So, for those who read or followed, I mean, entire book 1, the whole idea was Thad, Morgan, and Jess, they all had their places to be. Jess wanted to get home with her family, Morgan with his family, and of course Thad to see his wife, his son, and his mother. And Chris Dixon says, I knew Thad was a badass, but that was nuts. So you always need to have a character that is literally put through the ringer. And I don't know if I've ever seen a character treated quite, I don't want to say poorly, but Jesus, was he ever hurt? What did you think? Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah. Dude gets home from after walking 250 miles, gets his wife and his kid, meets up with Mr. Jackson, who is the guy that ends up helping his family out. Jackson ends up getting killed. And then before Jackson dies, he tells Thad to go out and shoot the girl that shot him. You remember that? Laying by the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So he walks out there, pops one in her, comes back in. Mr. Jackson dies. He goes and gets the family. It was a week later, the post office shows up at his house looking for Jackson, and Thad and his family's there, and then it just spirals from there.
Did you guys notice? I can ask Rachel this, but so DHS and the post office show up at the house, and they don't know who Thad is because they're looking for Mr. Jackson, right?
Right.
But by the time they come back the next time, they had paperwork for Thad.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think they did that? I was wondering.
I was wondering
my guess.
Oh, go ahead,
Sorry.
Rachel.
I was wondering if that was something that was missed in the audio book. But if all three of us missed it, maybe Bruno, lay down.
And it could have been during the time that Thad's wife was chatting too, because she chatted with him a little bit. Yeah. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I don't know. It could have been age, and they might have had a whole file series on ages of people in the area, and they kind of figured out, well, he wasn't over here, so they came back a couple days later, and he's you have the same ages and family numbers there at this property. I don't know. I mean, it's
good. It was something that kind of fell through. Yeah, there's Hunter. Yeah, Hunter said this too. People talk.
Yeah,
he said, and the town was small. That's a good point. I mean, that's something that Sarge dealt with quite a bit too, right? With people blabbing their gums, right?
Yep.
And Hunter says the postman knows just about everyone.
That is true.
And has kids in every block too, right? That's what they used to say about the milkman too. But so yeah, I'd completely forgot about Thad having to shoot that whatever she was, teenager. That was right there was cold-hearted, eh?
Well, you can't get any colder than what Morgan did, but we'll get into that later.
Well, oh yeah, I got a whole segment of that to talk about too. Yeah,
Which
that's true.
all right,
go ahead.
so I flat out, Aaron's reading book 2, and I'm like, okay, just fair warning, it's gonna get dark, and it's gonna happen quickly.
Yes.
And when it all of a sudden goes, and she's sitting there reading it one night, and she gets to the point where Thad's dealing with the DHS guy and the postman in the barn, and she gets through that. She puts the book down and is like, I can't read anymore right now. I need to walk away for a minute.
Yeah, so he goes from shooting. Okay, wait. So he gets home, and what's he have? 1 day or 2 days with his poor mother, and
one night. It's like
one night.
You guys ever heard that before? Where elderly people sometimes can hang on just until they get to see their family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was neat. I maybe the only criticism out of the entire book of this one that I wrote down. I would drive and I would take notes, like talking to my phone or whatever. But for me, it was the way I want to say grandma, the way his mother passed away. It almost seemed a little too over the top. You know what I mean? It felt like it was out of one of Stephen King's kind of fantasy type novels or so, a little bit, but it wasn't bad. It was still sad, but it may have been the only section that I felt was maybe just a little forced or something.
Yeah.
Too perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes a little bit of sense.
But yeah, so his mother dies, and then within a week or so, he goes to Mr. Jackson, shoots a man in his shins or his legs, kills 3 people, including go ahead.
Husband, wife, and the daughter, yeah.
And the daughter at point blank range, he executes her.
Yeah. Yep.
And that I kind of enjoyed Mr. Jackson's death. It was his vengeance. What did you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's the dark side of me. It was just it was interesting to me when he's like, I know the good Lord's going to accept me, he says, but I can't leave this world with knowing she's still alive.
Yeah.
It was, and so he goes and shoots her. And did he bury those ones? Do you remember what happened with them?
I don't know. I don't remember.
It may not have said. It usually only takes time with the people that were important, right?
Yeah, usually they just drag them off into the woods and dump them.
Yeah.
I think that's what he did.
Was it? Okay. I
believe that's what he did, because he brought his family over and he wasn't going to leave them sitting in the yard.
Yeah, because he never even told them, did he?
No.
Yeah, and probably rightfully so. And that's when he got the little piece of shot in his arm, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he basically kept that the whole book until Doc showed up, right? Didn't Doc get
No, it was when he was getting down to Morgan's.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. When they stopped at the
roadblock.
When the army stopped him at the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that was a fun story, him laying that thing out. And the guy's
like, wait,
it was? Did what?
Because it was cool, because you're like, I don't know. The first time I read that, I didn't know who these people were. Were they DHS? Were they playing him? Were they trying to get information? Because they play it straight for a while, right? They're just, Chris tells the story, and it's, well, what happened? Tell me again. Now tell these guys. You really fed them to the pigs? Like,
yeah.
And they listened, and they're like, well, shit, you're our friend now. Go ahead. You can you can leave.
Yeah.
That's the kind of person you want on your side, not against you.
Yes. So what did you think of the burn and the pig burn scene there, Rachel, with DHS and the USPS guy?
Felt like justice to me. I mean, he was basically, in the first book, he was basically Morgan's conscience for the most part.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he when he moved into the second book, and he lost literally everything within a matter of weeks, by the way it seems. It was just the breaking point, but you had to go through something that severe for him to go from, I believe we can find the best in people, to, okay, we need to get this shit done. That was the only way he was going to be able to make that change was to take everything away.
Are either of you guys the Walking Dead fan?
Used to be.
Okay, yeah, because really about the first 5, what's that, Nate?
We stopped watching when they had the newborn.
Yes, so that's about where I lost interest too. So the first 4 to 5 seasons are incredible. And I don't know if I'm just reaching here, but this is my 3rd time through the book series, and I found some real similarities with the characters, with some of the characters in The Walking Dead. And you guys can kind of tell me what you think. But the big one was Thad and Morgan. So, okay, Thad from this series, and then Morgan. Do you guys remember Morgan from The Walking Dead?
Yep.
From the very first episode.
No.
He's played by
The one that rescued Rick in the beginning.
Yep, in the very beginning, the black guy
okay.
that so he comes back. He plays a big part in the series later on, like when they get to Alexandria, and then he eventually spins off into his own show. But when Rick first met Morgan, this is going to get confusing because we got 2 Morgans here. But anyway, when Rick first met Morgan was very easygoing. You know, he'd lost his wife, but his son kept him going. And then eventually his kid died and he got completely broken and went medieval. And then eventually he went, back to being soft again. And I feel like that's kind of mirroring that journey a little bit. And then I was thinking about, I know this is, Morgan in this book gets shot and then comes back around. And that's kind of Rick's trajectory in The Walking Dead as well. You remember he got shot and then wakes up from his coma or whatever, and just a few similarities. And then, of course, there's an old man who loses a leg. That happens in both books and the show as well.
Yeah.
And eventually that guy, which, do you guys remember his name in this book? I couldn't remember it.
Howard.
Man, you're better with names than I am. Holy, yeah.
Yeah, it's Howard the ham radio guy.
Oh, that's why you remembered. Howard the ham radio guy.
Figures.
And I felt bad for Howard because he kind of had a bit of not a redemption, but remember, he was really sad on himself. He's like, I'm not going to get to do anything. I have nothing to offer. And then Morgan's like, well, you can be our ears. You can listen. And he got excited about it, but then he didn't really, I don't know, it's almost like he lost the will to live because that got pretty gross too, eh?
Yeah, he got septic within, a month? And
but it seemed like the book kind of implied that it happened because they just weren't taking care of themselves, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what it said, basically.
Yeah. Just
they weren't boiling the bandages so that he had something sterile to put on. They weren't cleaning it.
And the smell must have been atrocious.
Yeah, that was pretty rough from what I was remembering.
And then that was Doc that gave them the morphine, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I thought that was a pretty neat little twist, And again, that was a little bit against Doc's nature because especially in the first couple of books, he had a hard time. He was almost the conscience of the military people. Hey, like he was always
right.
Yeah, and then he got to the point where he's like, okay, well, I get, and I know he saw it as he was doing them a favor. And he was given the mercy, but at the same time, I think that was a big step for him to give them that and allow them to pass on their own terms, right?
Yeah. What was the name of the drunk that was living in the cabin with them? The one that
Don.
Oh yeah, the hardware store guy.
Don.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it was Don.
He tried to rescue Don when he chugged a couple bottles or a couple quarts, was it, of moonshine?
Yeah, that would be enough to kill you.
Yeah.
If Mr.
And
Dixon's still on
Doc
here,
wanted to try and save his life.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Because Sarge said, "Don't waste your time on him," or in other words, he's already gone. And I love those fellas. There was so much happened in this one book. I don't know. It really could have been 2 or 3 books, I think, and probably if it were later in the series, I bet they would have been split up into multiple books because there was just, there's Thad with his family, all of those going on. There was Sarge and Don, the hardware store. I mean, that's a whole story arc right there. And then, of course, in a few minutes, we'll talk about our favorite character Pat. Everybody liked Pat, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Took me 3 readings to finally remember her name, but I did it. So, well, you know what? Let's talk about it. I've got that there. Pat, Morgan's neighbor, Pat, has got to be one of the worst characters in any book I've ever read. Like, how could you hate somebody that much that quick? He did a good job writing her.
Well, I mean, she's the village Karen. It's simple as that.
When she hops in the... Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
I didn't say anything, but
I'm sorry.
If you're going to open it up, not only was she the Karen, but she hated everybody that was not a Karen. So anybody who was not exactly like her and had all of her exact same quirks and basic ignorance was not worth knowing, as she described it.
Yeah.
She was very much, it's my way or the highway. But it wasn't even that. It was also, it's my way and that's it. Like, she couldn't be bothered to see it. I think she really wanted to be in charge. That's what it came down to.
Yeah.
And when she hopped in when they were and then there's that whole other serial killer storyline as well that was in there.
Her son.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which was that was her. Yeah, because it was so. Yep. Did it play out that the son was the actual killer and the other guy that? Yeah, it was. Okay.
The two of them worked together. Yeah.
That's unreal.
Because the son had the driver's license of the one girl that was killed.
Yep. Right.
They found it in his room, and when what was his name? Reggie, the uncle.
I knew it. Start with an R. Yep.
Yeah. Reggie was the one who found her driver's license in Randall's bedroom. And then when the young man came over to visit Randall, he recognized the truck pattern or the tire pattern from this truck.
Yep.
And realized that must have been the other half of it. So that was when he snatched the kid, stuck him in the barn again.
Was that the second
thing always seemed to happen in the barn?
Was that whole deal in the second one, or was that later on in 3?
No, Rachel's only read number 2,
right?
The
second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I went back and reread it.
Through them all, so.
But that's what I'm saying,
I haven't
right?
read through yet.
Yeah, there was so much that happened. Book 2 could have been 2 books easily, I'm sure, because there was just a metric shit ton of happenings. So I guess we could all say what happens in the barn stays in the barn, hey?
Yeah, you got to find out.
Man, oh man, yeah.
Unless the pigs are going to squeal.
Yeah.
That was
all you need is a sharp knife and a little bit of molasses.
It didn't take him long. And when he comes out and was it Reggie that says, I didn't know Thad had it in him, or he's a twisted dude or something like that?
Yeah, one of the guys said it, yeah.
Something like that, but he said he didn't know that pigs were actually capable that quickly of just being able to do something like that. He was around them his entire life, and he's never seen anything like that before.
Oh, yeah. We had, you guys, probably the most famous serial killer in Canadian history was the pig, what did they call him? The pig farmer or whatever. He was in BC, and he was stealing Aboriginal prostitutes from the side of the road. He'd take them back to his place, kill them, and feed them to his pigs. And he did it for, I want to say, a couple of decades before they caught him. So you can imagine how many victims he ended up having. And there was basically nothing left to him. I think they just found little bits and pieces here and there, but it wasn't, I can't imagine it was a good way to go.
Yeah.
So how about the description there's a few things, but when he strings Buddy up in the barn, we'll go back to where Thad was still at his home there. When he strings Buddy up in the barn, and when he finally says, okay, finish him or finish me, that was some of the most gruesome description. That was as bad as some stuff I've read in Stephen King's books.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it straight up made Aaron put the book down and take a break for a little bit. And I remember hearing it for the first time, going through it, and I'm at work in the middle of the day going, holy shit.
It's a gut punch.
Oh, yeah.
you know, when he disembowels him at the end and the pigs grab a hold of his innards and start running with him, and then he's screaming and carrying on, and then all of a sudden he describes how that final piece of something let go and the black blood flew, and it's like, oh my God, it hurts, Stephen. I mean, I'm sure I'm a little sick and twisted, but I mean, I enjoy that. I don't know if enjoy is the right word, but you know, I'm entertained by it, right? But you certainly feel like there's a feeling put behind all of that.
Yeah.
And
I was listening to that at work too, and thank God there was nobody around me, because I literally stopped dead. You know, I'm pushing the broom down an aisle, and I literally stopped dead, and I'm like, oh shit. Waited till I was done at the end of it, and then okay, and I just kept trucking along. But yeah, I actually had to stop and get to the end of that before I could like move on in the physical realm.
Yeah.
And then after that, he burns a guy alive. You know, it's like, so disemboweling a guy and feeding him to the pigs wasn't quite enough. So I think we're gonna burn old Mr. Postman today too.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he told the sheriff's department when he was going through the story, he's not sure which got to him first, the fire or the pigs.
That's true.
Yeah.
And he said it with such calmness too, like, yeah, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's something I caught on my third reading, and I kind of like it. I'm a big fan of bookends, you know, something set up and it's finished. So do you guys remember when the USPS and the DHS guys first showed up to see Thad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Thad basically told him, fuck off, take a hike, run away, whatever.
Yep.
And then do you guys remember what they did when they went out to the car?
Smoked a cigarette.
Stood there and he smoked a cigarette to intimidate him, didn't he?
Yep.
And then do you remember how he killed Mr. Postman at the end?
Used his lighter, his Zippo lighter.
Let him smoke a couple of cigarettes and then used his lighter to burn him alive. And I thought, and I know that was done intentionally. I got to ask Chris about that sometime, but I'm sure it was just so perfect. That was writing to a T. I love that.
That's the lighter that he lit his house on fire, Thad's house on fire.
Yes, that too. Isn't that? Oh, I get chills. See, we're talking about it and I get chills now. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Pat some more. How about that? The world's most annoying and bitchy Karen character. So she hops in the car, which she basically wrapped her arms around the doorpost. Yeah. Like, just like a child. Don't you picture this like petulant little child that is just my way or the highway type thing?
Yep.
And
tantrum.
Yes, tantrum, exactly. And that's and Chris says here, where is it? I want to bring it up if I can. He says, I know several people like that in my town, so it was very believable. Now, I agree, because most small towns have them. And I think the thing that stuck out to me the most was when Pat is over on the sidelines fiddling with her bike because she's pretending her bike won't work while she's obviously eavesdropping. That, to me, just reminds me of so many people I knew growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Pat that started the, I don't know what do you want to call it, insurrection or whatever against the sheriff's wife at the time.
Yeah, well, all right. So that whole deal went down with that, or Morgan giving the, is it Mark?
Yeah, that's it. I don't know how you remember, but yeah, Mark the sheriff, right?
Ends up giving Mark all the food to take back to his wife, or is Mark or Danny? I don't remember which one it was. But gave him all the food to take back to his family because they were out.
Yep.
And Pat saw it on the back of his his mule or ATV or whatever it is. And as soon as they left to go into Altoona or whatever it was to go talk to the sheriff
and to bring food back,
that's when she started the shit.
That's right. And that's
she got all her cronies together.
Yeah.
Yeah, all her little, I picture these HOA cronies, the same ones that'll, file complaints against somebody when their lawn's 1/8 of an inch too tall, and they work it together. Now, Hunter says, I was so disappointed in the cop. He said Frank, but I think it's Mark. Isn't it Mark?
Mark,
yeah.
I am not surprised with how Mark went. You know,
No.
his trajectory.
He was a
And
mess.
That's just me seeing it in people. Like he had no in book 2, he had no like way
Drive.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had no.
He was
There
a
was no.
follower, not a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And he, to me, reminded me of somebody that probably thrived really well in the police system because he probably had a boss who, you know what I mean? Like he survived because the whole system existed around him, but he wasn't a leader. He was the same type of people that, you know, they work in the government because the government exists. It's a whole system they can thrive in. But if they have to self-govern or govern people, you know, individually, all of a sudden they have no balls to do it.
Yep. Yep.
And the whole protect and serve thing, he was in the protect, not the serve.
There you go. Sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, he was beat up. His family didn't have a lot, him and his wife, but nobody had a lot, right?
No.
And and you could just see it. I want to say see it on his face, but I mean, obviously it's not a picture book, but you could hear it in the tone of when the narrator was reading it, Duke there, just how defeated Mark was. It was constant, like, I just don't care. I don't care. There's whatever. I'm just going to go home, you know. And he never wanted to jump in and fix things.
Right. Yeah, and he didn't want to react to anything that Pat was doing.
Right. Yeah, he just didn't care, right?
Yeah.
Chris Dixon says, Mark didn't surprise me at all. He reminds me of our Alberta peace officers. He's not wrong there. That's all I'll say about that. And Hunter says it seemed like his badge was his only thinking, only following orders type. Exactly. And that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And when he didn't have someone above him to send orders down, it's like he just fell apart and couldn't do it. Now, the whole Pat confrontation, it's ended at that time as well, is it not?
Yeah, it's done right then and there.
So, like Hunter said earlier, some people just need killing. Now, maybe that should be the title of this episode.
Yeah.
Although it'd probably get us flagged, but anyway. Let's talk about it. Who wants to start?
Well, if I remember, it was Randy who made the first move. And then he got shot, maybe. And then the father came after him.
It was the father and then the son.
Oh, his father and the son?
Yes, because the son wanted to defend his father, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, it was the same way they went down with the couple people that Morgan killed in book 1.
Yep.
You know,
so does anyone think that Morgan, how are we going to put this? Does anyone think that Morgan might have incited them ever so slightly? You know what I mean? Like, and he may not even have been fully aware, but he definitely pushed their buttons so that he could finish it right then and there, at least to an extent, especially with Pat.
Yeah, but I mean, he was still in the right.
Yeah. 100% legal. Yes. Yeah. And morally, I think so. Because like Hunter says, yeah, it was all self-defense. I don't know. There was this 10% of me that thought, geez, it just, the dark side of Morgan almost peeked out for a little bit. Like, I get it. I think I would have done the same thing. But there were just times where he's like, I'm just like, you know, Morgan, if you just shut up right now, it might not have went there. Yeah. And it's okay that it did. I'm okay with that.
But I mean, it was coming.
Oh, sure. What were you going to say, Rachel?
From the very beginning, as soon as she saw anything, she was complaining about Morgan as soon as he came back. She was complaining that the sheriff was given some food, or the sheriff had food, and I'm going to get what I deserve. I'm going to get my fair share. Your fair share was already more in your house than what anybody else had. Yeah. And your fair share was going to be what you could take from everybody at every single stop. And they knew this about her. They knew that was the kind of person that she was. Mm-hmm. And when they said straight out that at some point you're going to be sleeping, or your back is going to be turned and we're going to be there, I honestly feel like, yeah, you really had no other choice. And I don't see it as he really incited it because he was trying to help others. The way he put it in the book was, I'm trying to put out fires. And as he's trying to put out the fires as he goes, it was just used as more and more ammo against him for people to be like, oh, well, why does he have? How can he? Oh, he must have this whole mountain of food. He must have all these things that we don't have. And it was just getting worse and worse. And she was the biggest one for that.
So okay. If just to play devil's advocate, because I remember when I read this the first time, and that little bit of time between when Morgan shoots Pat on the ground and they come out of her house after inspecting it, I felt kind of uncomfortable for just a little while. Almost like Morgan had maybe not crossed a line. Because, I mean, I have no problem with what he did. I get it. You know, he killed them. But until they went into Pat's house and came out and realized, holy shit, she's got a shit ton of food in here.
Mm-hmm.
It was still justified legally, but maybe morally it was a little bit gray there. Of course, it was tied up in a nice, neat bow when we found out that she had all kinds of food and she was just bullshitting, and her son was a serial killer. Because we didn't know that at the time either, did we?
No.
So
no.
What do you think the chances are that any of that was added after to soften it, maybe? Or do you think
I kind of got that feeling of her from the very beginning.
You thought that about her from the beginning?
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, the whole like food hoarder thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I could totally. I was really getting that vibe from the very beginning as soon as she started interacting at all.
Okay, that's cool. I'll take that then. For some reason I mean I didn't feel any pity for her. I knew she was a bitch. I just thought she was an unprepared bitch. And there was in another, I can't remember which one of these other series I read, there was somebody like that they felt entitled to absolutely everything, but they had nothing because they did nothing. But in her instance, it sounds like she had a fair bit, and she was just a downright awful human being, which absolutely needed killing. And I understand. Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
No, Aaron.
Oh, hi, Aaron.
Yep, she's working her way in here.
Yeah, so it was good. It was still fun. Hey, I see you got your haircut. Well, I can't see from here, but I saw it on Facebook anyway. But yeah, so I mean, it was fun. It was cool what happened, and I'm glad it happened. And I think it would have happened at some point or another, whether it happened right then and there or it came down the road a little bit, right? I just think if Morgan hadn't have done it, then somebody would have ended up getting hurt other than just those three.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole deal with Pat. Like, I remember you reading Pat, you talking about that a little bit.
Well, it wasn't a shock because I kind of knew already.
Yeah, I was kind of, that was the one I was feeding to her a little bit. It's like, you got something coming up. Let me know when you're there. Let me know when you're there. And then I didn't mention anything about Thad to her.
Ah.
Yeah, with the pigs and the postman.
Well, you know what? Let's get her thought. You know, it's our show. We can jump around. And now that Aaron's here, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the pig barn incident, Aaron.
I don't know why it was a shock because I mean, I knew that like big stuff was coming, but it was one of those things where I had to put the book down for a little bit and like process that.
It was a bit of a gut punch, wasn't it?
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
And it breaks your heart for Thad because, of course, you know, all he wanted was
expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
With his family.
It had to happen. I think, you know, I mean, just
for him.
in the writing end of things, you really needed to bring all three characters back, and how, you know, Jess, Thad, and Morgan all needed to come together. And obviously Morgan's the protagonist and the other two are the supporting characters, but you know, and you always need one character. What is it, like Job from the Bible or whatever, you know, gets everything bad happens to him and they have to keep smiling. It's just kind of par for the course for this kind of stuff. But the fact, you know, not that I seen it coming because I didn't, but it broke my heart. Like, especially poor little Tony and that damn transformer that Thad carried around with him for quite a while.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, just the amount of stuff that went wrong with Thad in that short amount of time. But
and something else, you can look at Thad's situation, no matter how much planning we put into things and how much we try to prep, sometimes shit still goes completely sideways and the worst thing can still happen to you. Hey,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he spent time, didn't even he buried some caches, didn't he? Or just set them in the woods. Do you remember?
Yeah, he was going to get one of them when the postman showed up
Right.
the second time to burn the house down.
Were
He
you-
was out loading the truck up.
Right. Yeah. And they beat a path down. They stashed their truck out in the woods. They had go bags ready to go. I mean, they put a lot of work into,
Yeah, they were leaving the next morning.
and it didn't happen.
Yep.
Did you have something, Rachel, or were you just no?
No, I'm good.
Good. Okay, cool. Yeah. So how about the postman, Aaron? Did he deserve that too? Getting burned alive?
I mean, I think Thad was just reacting, emotionally because.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
I get if that's what Thad thought he deserved, then.
Yeah.
I would have done it. I think I
Oh,
would have.
yeah.
I really do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really no reason to not, because it's not like there's, trials.
Right. The law's nowhere to
Yeah.
be found.
Right.
So
And so why not burn him down with the lighter that he burnt your wife down with, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And feed the DHS.
Especially
Dude,
since they weren't dead.
What's that, Rachel?
Especially since they weren't dead.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty when he belted it out that they weren't dead. Yeah, because they basically burned them alive, right? They were. Yeah. Oh.
Yep. Yep.
So what about
then,
the DHS? Oh, go ahead, Nate.
Then they had burned the house down to the ground completely after he
Right.
was done with the barn. I don't remember if he buried Tony and his wife.
I thought so, yeah, because
He
he talked about
did.
having to wrap him up.
He found what
Okay.
they described as a clump or something that resembled
Yeah.
a human. That was kind of what he said.
Yeah, but I'm
Well,
talking if he actually buried them after the fact.
I think he did.
Okay.
Yeah, because
He wrapped them up in the ponchos.
Yeah, something.
Okay.
But he didn't mark them, right? Because he said he wanted to be the only one that knew where they could find the bodies, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So what about the DHS? I'm sure it's on purpose, but the similarities between the DHS and the Nazis. You guys pick up on that kind of?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing. They're kind of lined up with the concentration camps and all this other stuff. It's not just the DHS. You got the president too.
that's true.
In on this. And if you listen enough into it, they flat out say it.
That's
So-
yeah. They kind of do, don't? I was trying. Did they ever? Go ahead, Rachel.
I thought when they were talking, when Sarge and the boys were with the rest of the army at that one base, they said that it goes all the way up to the director in chief as far as who's going into the rebellion.
Right.
To the rebellion, yes, but not the
the
DHS.
actual-
DHS
yeah.
goes all the way up to the president.
And do you remember
Well,
Sarge?
if they
Go
were,
ahead.
if they were talking about the director in chief, isn't that the president? So if the army's
Yeah, it could be.
instructions and everything is going all the way to the director in chief, I thought it was.
The president
That's
is definitely not a good guy. It may
No.
not have been 100% clear yet in the first two books, but it's a little more clear as we go on. I won't ruin it for you.
Okay.
But the DHS, but so I think Sarge is the one that mentions, remember when what's he say? What's it with you people in stadiums? Do you remember that?
Yeah, because you got the FEMA camp down in Katrina was in the stadium.
And I think going back further, I think that's a reference to some of the atrocities from World War II as well, I believe.
Yeah.
Because, in other words, like, you guys are rather fascist kind of Naziist type people here.
Yeah.
How about, go ahead.
Hunter's got a good one there. There's one there. Director in chief is not the commander in chief. That's correct.
Right.
It's the commander in chief is the president.
Right.
Okay.
Have they mentioned, like, this isn't a spoiler per se, but I know at some point they mentioned the president's in a bunker. Have they mentioned that yet, Rachel?
Nope.
Do you remember?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, it's something that comes up then later on, but it's not a spoiler per se. But
No.
how about Jeff shows up in this? This is where he makes his appearance too, right, Rachel?
Yep. Yep.
See what I mean? All these
On
stories.
the motorcycle.
Yeah.
He's one of
You
my
like
favorite
Jeff,
characters.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You like Jeff, Aaron?
Yeah. Yeah. He adds a nice little naive, friendly, comedy
Yeah.
to it.
How about
Yeah.
when he very
Sorry,
first showed?
let it go. I hear somebody crying.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
worry. Thanks for
All right.
dropping in.
He didn't want to ride bitch behind Thad
Right.
on the four-wheeler.
And he has a thing for gum. Almost killed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, about chokes to death on the gum.
I remember where I was mowing. I've read that story 3 times now, and I still laugh out loud every time I hear that story. That is,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and again, it was a bit of, I mean, I don't want to say completely, but oh no, was it Morgan telling a joke and Jeff laughed and sucked in, or
Yep.
was it? Yeah.
Yep.
So there, just shit happens, right? Like, yeah. And Chris Dixon says Jeff is a good guy to have in your camp. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, oh yeah, how about the DHS guys that they walk out down the road and Jeff's there. He dispatches some of them, doesn't he?
I believe so.
Do you remember
Was that
Nate?
in 2?
Yeah, because I just read that. I stopped at the end of 2 because
Okay.
they so when Sarge and Doc and Mike and Ted come in the helicopter and they land and
Oh,
those
yeah.
stupid sorry, they weren't really DHS, they were militiamen.
Yeah.
The rent-a-cops or rent-a-military or whatever. And oh man, that was great because they're the ones, of course, that Morgan gets shot for the second time in 2 books. His daughter gets shot, and it turns out that one of these good old boys was the conspirator of it. He's the one that actually shot all of them.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
again,
I remember listening to that, and when they're going through that camp, leaving people and shooting people, and it was kind of weird to see that. It's like, yeah, just kick the whole camp out.
they didn't want to shoot
Well, they
the
wanted
women
to
and
leave
the
the
kids.
women and children.
Right. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And what's this say? Hunter says, I can make things go boom, but not fix a radio. Fair enough. So yeah, they so then was this the first time that we got to see Sarge? No, this is the second time we got to see Sarge's handiwork, wasn't it? Where he's really good at torturing people or being persuasive.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Once again, I laughed out loud when he pretended to piss on Buddy. That to me just
That was great.
like Chris, the author, must have taken some time to research torture to write this stuff.
I'm sure he's got friends in the military that have.
I think so. Because with Sarge, it's almost he's better at the psychological torture. I mean, he can inflict the pain too, but it was all about how much I'm going to make you worry about what I'm going to do to you, and I'm going to break you down, and I'm going to make you feel like my little bitch while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
When he tells that story about when I was a boy, only time I ever got a beating was when I fed my dog because my dad was a mean son of a bitch. And I could sit and listen to Sarge's. Listening to this the other day, I thought, you know what I would love is a prequel series starring Sarge that follows, maybe a 3-book series that kind of follows through his life up until, getting prepared, building the Faraday cage, building his, what do you call it? His hunting cabin, or what did they call poacher's cabin? That's it.
Yeah.
I would love to follow that whole time. Maybe it'll never happen, but it would be fun. What'd you guys think of the torture scene?
It was warranted. It was good.
Oh yeah.
I laughed.
Yep.
It's they got everybody blindfolded, and Sarge, you hear guys like, I hear Sarge unzip his pants, pull it out. The other guys are looking at it, and all of a sudden the hood goes over, and here comes the warm water.
And he said it, and the best part, he's like, and if it gets in his nose, it's going to sting, and there's no way he's not going to know or that he's going to think it's not water, right? Like,
yeah,
I had to laugh. Oh, didn't I laugh? And then when he hit him on the bottom of the feet with, I think it was PVC pipe, wasn't it?
Yes.
I
Was
could
it
feel
PVC?
that. I think so. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
It was,
I
it
thought
was
it was a metal pipe.
PVC.
Oh, it might have been metal.
I thought it was PVC.
Yeah, I don't know. But either way, it would, holy shit, would that ever hurt? I
Oh,
can't
yeah.
even and he unloaded on both his feet, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause if I remember, it was cold still at
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, they were there. It wasn't as cold as the first torture scene, I don't think, but it was very much like, I stepped on
Yeah.
a nail one time, an old ring nail in that soft, fleshy spot on my foot, and that went right. And then when Becky pulled it out, it made all these popping noise. Oh yeah, no, that is a tender spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris says like a dead blow hammer. That's exactly
Yeah,
what it would feel like.
PVC with sand.
Yeah, and it wouldn't break anything, but it would
No.
fucking hurt like nobody's business. It would. Just gives me the willies. And then one of my favorite lines in the entire book was, what's he say? Sarge, Reggie, do you mind if I use your burn? In other words, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to kill him in your burn. And then Sarge says, wait a minute. He says, it's okay. They need a killing, but it's much easier to make them walk there than to drag them there.
Yeah.
If that's not, I mean, I don't know military men that much, but does that not just read like a pragmatic military guy?
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna go walk where I want you to walk before I put a bullet in your head.
And how cold is that? Like, I mean, I think Sarge is my favorite character. Through and through. I love that man. He makes me smile. I know he's just a fictional character, but he cracks me up for sure.
Yeah,
And then Dalton shows up in this one too, right?
Nope. Did he?
Maybe not.
Dalton.
Okay. No, then I won't go any further. Dalton's also one of my. Sorry. Then if Rachel gets that look on her face, then I'm wrong. No Dalton in this one. You'll enjoy Dalton when he shows up.
I'm back on book 5, and I don't think Dalton's in 5 yet.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So anyway, my 3 favorite characters are Jeff, Dalton, and Sarge. But yes, we won't talk about Dalton anymore yet. And Chris says, I can't picture Mel. Anyone get a mental picture of Mel yet? Well, the problem is when I watch their live stream is I know what Chris and Mel look like, and her name's Mel. So I'm like, it could be her now.
Yeah.
But the one I struggled with was Thad. I honestly pictured, I don't know why I can't, the guy that played Morgan in The Walking Dead, but he's not that tall. But when Chris was in the interview and he said Michael Duncan Clark, I was like, he would have been perfect. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, that's who I see Thad as. Big dude, built like a brick shit house.
And probably looks very huggable too, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Except when you know that he likes to feed people to pigs, but that's another story, you know?
Yep.
And
the only other person. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Ray. No, you go ahead.
There was only one other person that I could think of, because I actually sat there and tried to figure out what actor would make a good Morgan, or not a good Morgan, a good Thad.
Yeah.
And his name is escaping me right now. It was the big black guy in White Chicks.
Oh, that would have been one of the Wayans, right?
No.
Oh.
It'll come to me as soon as we're off.
What was it?
It'll come to me as soon as we're off of this. I can't think of what his name was.
You said that was in White Chicks.
Yeah. He was the
brothers
that acted like wider than anybody else in there.
Terry Crews.
That's it.
Yeah, he would be good. Terry Crews would be good. He might be a little bit too he might be a little more on the funny side, but he could do it. Sure he could.
Well, you're used to seeing him mostly in funny positions like that.
Brooklyn, what's that? 9-9 or whatever. And Chris says he sees the guy. That's Michael Duncan Clark. Unfortunately, he's passed away, Chris, which is sad because he was what a good actor that man was.
The other guy would be next Friday. The big
Ice Cube?
No, the big black dude on the neighborhood bully.
Yeah, let's see if we can. I know who you mean. I'll see if we can find his name while you're. Yeah.
Yeah, that's who I see.
How about Morgan? That one I struggle with. I don't picture anybody when I hear that.
Not really.
Yeah.
Morgan. So I'm gonna throw one out there.
Sure.
The guy from American History X.
Oh, Ed Norton.
Ed Norton would be a good Morgan, I think.
Yes, he would. I love Ed Norton. I think he's great. And I was just trying to think, does it ever say much? He would have to put a little weight on at least to start with, I would think, because didn't Morgan say in the first he was a little overweight from a few too many trips through McDonald's or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah. But I could see Ed Norton would be good with that. Kind of unassuming, but he plays that kind of badass, quiet guy pretty well.
Yeah. And that's who I see being them.
Oh, Chris says Billy Bob Thornton, but he's too old. Yes, Billy Bob Thornton 20 years ago would have been perfect for that role.
Yeah.
I like Billy Bob Thornton. Trying to think of who else could be. Yeah, because he's probably late 30s, maybe 40 in the book. Would that be about right, you think? Or
yeah, probably.
Yeah, because the kids are, they're teenagers, right?
Yeah, a little bit is what, 8?
16 or 17?
Yeah. So he'd got to be pushing 40, I would think. Unless he got married at like 17 or 18, but that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was the one I struggled. And Chris, when he was on the show, he said that he never pictured anybody when he was writing that role. And so pretty much everybody else, he knew somebody that either inspired the role or an actor that would play it. But that one, he just never really, I have to give it some more thought because it's a tough one.
Yeah, and then Jess is another tough one. I have a tough one with her.
Because the problem with that is I don't pay a lot of attention to the younger actors and actresses now. So it's hard, because she would be early 20. Well, she'd be 21, 20. She wouldn't be any more than 21 because she was in college, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd need a pretty young.
You need a Southern boy, a Southern belle with a little bit of tomboy in her.
Yeah.
It'd be perfect.
Jennifer Lawrence would have been perfect 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Winter's Bone with her in it?
I think so. I think we watched that.
She was young then, like 15, 16, and it's one of those takes place in the what are the mountains called? The mountains where all the rednecks live. I can't think of that. Not the Adirondacks, the one where Appalachians. That's it. Yep. Thank you.
The Appalachians.
Somebody's going to shoot me. Yeah. They're going to be like, that's not all rednecks there. No, I know. But they always get played off as that in the movies, right? But she was, her in that role would have been really good, I think. And Chris says Giovanni Ribisi, he would have been, he was good. He hasn't done much in a few years, but he would be good in that role.
Yeah.
So we talked about his characters, how he writes characters really well. What about, I really enjoy his humor. I think he's one of the funniest authors I've read in a long time as well. Do you guys remember the scene where Mike and Ted are arguing over who gets the shower next?
Yes.
And what is it? The colonel shows up and he salutes and he drops his towel.
Yeah.
Doesn't that play like an 80s? You know, all those foolish 80s military comedies they always had?
Yeah. And then you had the first book with the prisoners they caught when that they brought back to the house, and it was what Mike said. I know the water was cold, but I didn't know it was that cold out when he put them all down.
They remind me of my buddies from high school. I mean, the humor is politically incorrect through and through. And I will say that really made me happy that after reading book 11, I won't obviously tell you anything about it, but the politically incorrect humor is still there. He didn't tone it down for 10 years later and all the crap we're dealing with today, right? It's all there, and I appreciated that. Yes, and Chris Dixon says like Stripes and Police Academy all over again. Yes, that's those two characters, Mike and Ted, remind me of characters right out of those movies.
Yeah.
And they're just like two little kids, and they're always which one is the sillier of the two? The kind of simpler.
Mike,
yeah. He's the one is he the one that's always trying to piss Sarge off? Like he pushes him a little too much?
Yeah, I think all three of them do, but
yeah. And then it's kind of touching too, because at least Mike and Ted, they've been with Sarge for years and years and years. And was it in this book or the first book where one of them goes for an overnight reconnaissance with Sarge, and Sarge falls asleep on the pad or whatever. And
Yeah.
I think it must have been Ted. I think it was that looked at him and he's like, the old man's getting old now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in this book it says Sarge is just his early 50s, so he's not as old as I pictured him.
Right.
I pictured him. I don't know. He seem more like a guy in his like early to maybe even like 63, 64. You know, he just seems really old and curmudgeon. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want to give everything away, but I can't remember when that happens. Yeah, you and I will talk after the fact.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy some of the humor, just some of the things they come up with, and the sayings, and it's just fun because it reads like you can tell that he spent a lot of time in the 80s and the 90s and doesn't
Yep.
worry too much about offending anybody in this day and age.
Yep.
Now, how about the ending? Because the ending of book 2, was it Morgan looks at Thad and he's like, "Was that Jess?"
Yep.
And
Yep.
I was like, okay, now here's my thing. That I thought that was a perfect ending. And then there's an epilogue after that. And I'm like,
that was the epilogue.
What's that?
That was the epilogue.
No, didn't after the epilogue.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Because then they were talking. It was Jess and Mary talking. Was in the epilogue.
Yeah. Oh, fireworks at Nate's place. That's awesome. So I'm sure I'm wrong about this because Nate and I talked about this earlier, but they mentioned, or the first 2 books were written on the forums. So I don't imagine he had a lot of editor's notes for the first 2 books, but the epilogue felt tacked on. I was like, what a great cliffhanger to end on. And then I don't know, maybe this is just nitpicking, but I really felt like the epilogue could have been the opening to book 3. It just finish it right there. Was that Jess? And then leave it. But instead, and I was okay with the epilogue. It just felt tacked on. And anybody else want to talk about it or think?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
What did you think, Rachel?
That was actually the big reason why, as soon as I got done with book 2, I ordered book 3 right away.
Because of the epilogue?
That was that cliffhanger that, well, have you noticed that they have all these people coming in, but the people in that cage, there's only ever the same amount, no matter how many they put in?
Very good
have
point.
Have you noticed that they bring in this many black people, but how many of them have you seen around?
That was the Nazi thing too.
It's just like they're throwing all these crumbs to get you ready for the next book. That's
true. And you know what? I only felt this way this time around, which is my 3rd trip through. So maybe they moved it because I said like the epilogue should have been the prologue for book 3, like Chris said, but maybe they wanted that. Maybe they felt like that would tease people into, I don't know. Yeah, because I guess that's its own cliffhanger too. We're talking about what's going on in the camps and what's happening to all these people of color, for instance. You know, it was, yeah. And Hunter said because you went through 11. I think you mean book 11. I'm thinking there. How's the explosions, Nate? Are they still going off?
Oh yeah, they're still going off. I just went around and shut all the windows in the garage. So
that's okay. Yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Just pretend like it's small arms fire or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
it is.
I got a story for you guys later.
Let's see. Well, we've been an hour and 15 minutes, so we can get close to wrapping it up here. Now, the only person in here who hasn't read beyond this is Rachel. Yep. So let's ask, what is your predictions for where it goes into book 3, Rachel?
Well, obviously, I think they're going to get Jess out of there, or they are going to put on some sort of major freaking attack and do their damnedest to get her out of there. I can see them launching one hell of a big thing there, but they also have the issue of Morgan's not ready to give up his home. He's not ready to move his family from their comforts that they have and just full on have to get into the whole escape routine and, where do we go? What do we do? What can we take? It's like he doesn't have anything prepped to leave there. Because I don't believe he said anything about having any caches anywhere.
I don't think he does he, Nate? No, Nate shakes his head.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Everything's at home. And I remember him fighting the fact that he doesn't want to take off and deal with any of that.
And we all say 95% of the time bugging in is the best option.
Mm-hmm.
Till it's not.
Right. Exactly. Until it's not. Until you have to leave, because if you don't, you end up dead or starve or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And So, and Hunter says, I mean, the timeline is what, a month? Yeah, I would say that's what we kind of figured, right? It had been from maybe a month to 6 weeks from the time the EMP went off. And
well, it took him a couple of months to get home after the EMP.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 2 months, wasn't it? Right.
Yeah. So I would say you're looking anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Was
anybody?
What's that? I thought it said that it took him 3 weeks to get home, and he was surprised that Jeff wasn't any farther than he was, because that's how far he got in that amount of time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was just trying to think of how. Yeah, I would say it would have to have been a couple of months. And Hunter's right here. So he made a couple of observations. He said he just got home and then things went smoother and smoother. I wouldn't want to leave either. And he's right. I mean, your entire existence on the road was to get home and find a little bit of normalcy. And now all of a sudden, Sarge is like, guess what, guys? We got to leave. It's like, yeah, you're right. That's good, Rachel, because that's a bit of a, I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Was book 2 the exfil from or Sarge's exfil, second exfil?
From which? From
his cabin.
Yes. Yeah. They'd completely, by the end of book 2, they were coming into they were looking for a place to stay. What's the name of the town that Morgan lives in?
Altoona.
Yeah. So they were looking to stay there. They showed up because they grabbed the DHS and the militia guys. And then from that point, right about that time was when Morgan took them out to show them that
the DHS.
Yeah. And also the camp. There's that.
The DHS camp.
Yeah. But then he wanted to show a place for Mike and Ted and Doc and Sarge to stay as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't far. It was 10 miles away What's that, Rachel?
The cabins.
The cabins. That's what I was trying to.
In the wood.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's where Sarge is trying to talk them into coming to, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a crazy ride. It doesn't. And the cool thing about the series is it doesn't really peak with book 1 or 2. It just keeps going, and I don't. If anybody has read any of these other long series, what I found. Can't remember the name of this one right now, but I was listening to a couple different ones. And even in one, the author in the prologue says this was only supposed to be 6 books, but the readers fell in love with it. So now it's 10. And when that happens, it feels tacked on. But in these 10 books, it just feels like all the way through. It's just, okay, this is the next thing. This is the next thing. And even book 11, without going into it at all, it feels like it's just the next continuation of what book 10 was. Like he does a good job with that.
Didn't Chris say that he's writing it by just playing it through his mind like a movie?
I think so. Yeah, he mentioned something like that.
So that's probably why it has more of a natural feel.
Yeah, it's true. Because I don't know if he doesn't, I don't know. He doesn't seem like, because he says he's not traditionally a writer, although he definitely is a writer at this point. But I don't think he doesn't seem to be the type of guy that would plot every plot point out ahead of time. Like he might know the basic area where he wants to be, but I'm thinking, because Hunter says he agrees it flows really, really, really well. And it does. Like it's just a story. It never feels like, do you know how some of these long series, they get into that? They call it the monster of the week. So back in X-Files days, back when that show was on, there was times when they didn't want to move the story along at all, so they would just have a Monster of the Week episode, and it was basically some case, kind of the Scooby-Doo mindset, let's go find and solve this mystery, kids, and that's what they would do there. And then some of these long book series get like that. They're like, well, there's no real stakes involved, so let's just introduce a new bad guy, and then you guys can get over it, and that'll get me enough material to write book number 7. This is always, everything feels like a natural progression from one step to the next. And I'm definitely, go ahead, Nate.
To me, it sounds like real life. It's going through real shit and real life and making do with what you can do.
250-mile walk, right? Is that what he walked, or 200 miles or something?
Yeah, 250.
Oh, boy, I don't know. Could you do it, Nate?
No.
I mean, you and I are both not small guys.
No.
But I don't know. Maybe if we were thinking about our family, we might figure it out. But boy, it would be a hell of a trip. I don't know if I could. I don't know. I would die trying. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 5'8", 250, well, 260 probably. So
yeah, so
I got stuff in my car, but
we would lose weight on the trip. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, but I mean, 10 miles a day, 250 miles. You're looking at 25 days.
Right. And that 10 miles is a long walk. And, it's one thing if you're walking on, a gravel trail next to, say, the interstate, but he did a lot of that through the woods and through the swamp and using, stopping and communicating with his radios. And, and Hunter says that's why I stopped watching The Walking Dead, that whole Monster of the Week type thing. Like, the best stories are told when there's an end point ahead of time. Like the author knows where they're going to end the story, and they develop toward that. And it feels like Chris has been doing that. So even with the new stuff, Hunter says, get hired as a cart pusher. Yeah, that would, even being my own boss, but yeah, I get it. Well, what do you guys think? You got any final thoughts on, obviously we enjoy the book or we wouldn't be here talking about it, but let's start with you, Nate. What was the highlight of the book 2 for you?
Book 2 for me was just realizing that the shit's going to start, and it's going to start quick, and it's going to go downhill quick, and you got to live with it. And you got to figure out how to do it. You don't have the police department around. Nobody cares. You got to take law into your own hands. Morgan ended up building a set of stocks with Jeff, because they had stuff being stolen in town.
That's true. And it worked.
Yeah.
How about you, Rachel?
There was actually a couple things that I hadn't really thought about too much lately. Now, where I work is 33 miles from my house. So I could make that in like a day.
Okay.
I really only keep stuff in the car during the winter because on 78 there, they've actually had the highway shut down more than a couple of times where people had to have gas brought out to them by National Guard or whoever it was just because their cars were stranded there for so long.
Wow.
The longest I've been stranded on it was, I think, 3 hours, 4 hours. And I know other people that have been stranded on there for 12 hours. And there was actually one snowstorm where people were there for days.
Oh.
And that's just a short stretch of, let's say, 10 to 15 miles. This is the stuff that's happened.
Wow.
But they're doing a lot of improvements on the road, including adding like shoulders and stuff. So hopefully we won't have too much more of that, but it actually put it into perspective of maybe I should think a little bit more of what it is I keep in the car year round. I usually keep like a pretty good first aid kit in there, but during the summer, not too much more. And then there's a few things around the house that when he was talking about the barrel pump that he got from Harbor Freight, this was actually a problem that I've been trying to think about. Okay, you've got barrels. How the hell do you get the stuff out of it? And then when he got to that, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so stupid right now. especially as much as I spend at Harbor Freight. So,
Harbor Freight's a fun place.
Oh, Harbor Freight's awesome.
Go ahead, Nate.
Was that what we posted? That little pump?
I think it was. I think so.
Aaron posted. We got that pump for the 55 or the 275 gallon rain barrel.
Yeah,
and that thing worked great.
I wonder how much wattage does that haul? Any idea?
Not much. I can look at it when I get home.
Oh yeah, whatever. No big deal. But I was just thinking you could probably run that off a little tiny battery or with a little solar charger if you had to. Because it would
possibly
take a lot.
Yeah.
And Hunter says, get his thoughts in here. He said, "Am I willing to kill over one of my chickens? Only one of my chickens. I don't know. What would it take to push me to action?" And I think that's one of my biggest. I tend to second guess myself. And I always say, you need to have in place an idea and a plan. And you need to know what the threshold is that needs you to unleash that plan. But when I get to that point, no matter what it is, whether I know I'm going in the right direction somewhere, but I haven't made it there yet, I always tend to second guess myself. And that's hard. You need to make that decision and follow through with it. And that's kind of what I really like about Morgan is he's a bit ahead of everyone else. He already knows. He knows where the world's going to be in a week, in a month, in a year, and he doesn't care. He's just dealing with it the way it is. Whereas almost everyone else in the book is trying to hold on to the old normal. Even if it's Mel. I forget what she said, but there was one quote in book number 2 where she almost was in denial for a bit. Do you remember that, Rachel?
She said, "It's not really that bad, is it?"
Exactly.
And that was when he came to the realization that even his own family, they've still got their electricity, they've still got their running water, they've got their food, and they still think life can go back to normal. They don't understand the concept that you only have so much time before you're in the same boat as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was telling them about how much food, or he was telling her, it's okay. He was telling her about how much food they're finding in somebody's house. It was right after
the cat food or dog food.
Vance
Yeah.
had been killed.
Yep.
And his wife shot herself. And he said that all that was left in the house was a couple of bottles of personal care things, 2 cans of beans, and a little bit of flour and a little bit of salt.
Right.
And that most of the other people were at the same point, and it's not going to be that long till we're there too.
Yeah, that was the guy at the front gate that got shot.
Lance,
Right.
that's his name. I had it in my notes for some reason.
Lance,
but
that was it.
It wasn't Danny.
Lance,
yeah.
Danny's the best friend there. It's Morgan's best friend.
Lance? Was it? Yeah,
it was Lance. Yeah, because I wrote down that Morgan went home and cleaned his gun because he needed some mindless work. I said I put it as something cathartic before he went and talked to Lance's widow. He had to do that sometimes, just kind of decompress, and but that was it. And then she went and shot herself that night, didn't she? Because she was in complete denial.
Yep.
But Morgan was ahead of everyone else, and he reminds me, for the Walking Dead illustration again, Shane in that first 6-episode story arc, and then when they go to Herschel's farm, Shane was always willing to do what needed to be done, to the point where a lot of people would say maybe he was a bit evil or at least pragmatic. And that's Morgan, right? Morgan always did what he had to do, whether it was it dollar bills? Was that buddy's name, or what was his name? Something dollar? Gold dollar. I'll never remember that. But yeah. What's that?
There was gold dollar, silver dollar, and I don't remember the others.
Yeah. So, I mean, Morgan knew. And the other thing that Morgan had over everyone else in his community was he was out there and he saw what was going on. He had to kill. He had to survive. He had to evade. And everyone else was just kind of existing, waiting for the lights to come back on until he showed up. And I think him being out there really helped change his mindset before he even got home.
Yeah.
The only thing that bothered me was Miss Janice.
Was that the one that ate the dog
The old
food?
lady on the 40 acres on the end of town?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did she not have more stuff?
Huh?
How does she not have more stuff? You got 40 acres.
What bothered me was, okay, I understand, she's an old lady that's probably been living on Social Security for how long?
Right.
And she's just used to at my age, I'm not going to plan for the future. I'm just going to go through life as I go. And I understand that she ended up running out of food because I've seen, a lot of older people that put themselves in that situation. My thing was, okay, it's awesome that you were bringing her food. It's awesome that you were checking on her. She already saw people that were at her back fence.
Yep.
And she couldn't give you any information. You guys confirmed that you saw the tire tracks and the footprints. So there's people that are basically watching this old woman.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you leave her there on her own?
That's a good point.
Would that not be a good place that they put in like some kind of watch?
And Morgan took that to heart too. Remember, he said he felt like that was a failure, what happened to her, because he was like, I should have been checking on her, but he was just so busy. And I get that. But yes, I agree, Rachel, because I think back to my grandmother who never hurt for money a day in her life. Well, I shouldn't say that, but she went, when she was young, she went through the Great Depression, and she knew how to scrimp and save. And then her and her husband started their business. He died in the 80s, and she's still alive today. And so for, the last 15 years that she lived on her own, she never had food in the house, just enough to eat for a couple of days, because her whole life, like she could have had pantries full, but she never did. She just had a loaf of bread in the fridge and whatever else, her TV dinners, and her outing every couple of days was to go to the grocery store, get enough food for the next couple of days, and come home. And this was a lady that, reused margarine containers for decades to save money, right? But she was old and didn't care and just didn't have much food in her house. And that seems to be how a lot of elderly people, especially when they get really old, go. Not all of them, because some have a full larder and a full pantry. But yeah, my grandmother sure didn't or doesn't.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, gentlemen's lady, I got to bounce out of here.
Nope, that's okay. It's a perfect time to end. We're an hour and a half there. So thanks, Nate. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yep, it was good seeing you.
You too.
Catch you guys later.
We'll chat soon.
Yep, have a good one.
You too.
You guys.
All right. We'll end it here, Rachel. So yeah, thanks for dropping in. And what will we be? It'll be the first Monday. Sorry, the first Saturday in August. We'll be back to do the next one.
Yep.
Summer will be almost gone. And don't forget, everyone, we're officially halfway through 2022. So.
And what have you accomplished?
Exactly. That's my closing for today, for sure. So yeah. Well, thanks, Rachel. I'll close up here, and you can hang around in the background for a minute if you want.
Okay. Like I said, I got a story.
Oh, okay. I'd love to hear it. I'll be right back. Well, there you go, guys. That was awesome. That was fun. I didn't know where we were going to end up tonight. I didn't know how much of a crowd we'd have, but we had a good crowd and a really good amount of people in the live stream audience here too. So thank you. Hunter says the 6th of August. So that'll be great. Yeah, this will be I love it. This is fun, guys. I appreciate it. Maybe we'll get a few more people involved the next go around. And my reminder to you guys is this is now July. Just like we said, what have you got done? We are halfway through 2022. And what goals did you set in December to finish up and accomplish in 2022? Because we're halfway there. Take a minute, look back, think, what do I need to do? What do I need to change? Or did my goals change? But there it is anyway. I'll leave it at that with you this week, guys. Thanks for dropping in on a beautiful summer Saturday evening. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.